Maxey from outside. Sixers lead, courtesy of Tyrese Maxey.
Hit deep to left field, going back is LoCastro. It is gone!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. Your host, Ryan Coyle. As always, as we continue on with our 2025 college football preview series, we've already hit on 7 or 8 different programs. We're going to be aiming to hit on another 10 to 15 programs over these next couple weeks as we lead up to kickoff. Recording today on the 14th, we are 9 days away from week 0, where we got the big matchup between K-State and Iowa State. And then right after that, next week, Labor Day weekend, we have football is officially back that weekend, and that's when it really gets going. We have 3 top 10 matchups, I believe it is, 4 ranked versus ranked matchups between week 0 and week 1. It's insane how many good games we have to start off the season. But we're going to continue rolling out these previews as we get closer and closer to kickoff. Today's episode, the 2025 preview on the Texas A&M Aggies as they head into a big season in year 2 under Mike Elko. As always, with every episode, we will go from top to bottom. Head coach, 2024 recap, talk about the offense and the defense as we head into this new season. And then go through the schedule, do some schedule predictions, and do a little gambling talk as well with some of these potential plays, potential predictions here from this upcoming season for the 2025 Texas A&M Aggies. So when we look at the head coach, and we start at the top, as always, Mike Elko. He enters year 2 here as the head coach at Texas A&M. A 24-14 record as a head coach at the college level. Was previously the head coach at Duke for 2 seasons. Made Duke a relevant football program while he was there. He also beat Clemson when he was there. So this is a guy that can coach, and he's shown the ability to do it, at a program that doesn't have the elite football resources. Now he's at Texas A&M, which does. This is a program that's been, I think, budding for a while to kind of break through and have that kind of great season that we really haven't seen since Johnny Manziel. I saw earlier the Texas A&M Aggies have only had 1 double-digit win season since 1998, I believe it was. Pretty insane there for a team or a school that is so obsessed with football to have these kind of mediocre results. Mike Elko looks to be the guy to help break through and make this team an SEC power. Last year, his first year as head coach at Texas A&M, went 8-5. A defensive-minded coach, a longtime DC at the college level. You look up and down at his resume. Defense is where his bread and butter is, but he was, as we said too, he was also the head coach at Duke for 2 seasons, made them relevant, had a big win over Clemson during his time there. 8-5 last year in year 1. I think it was an up and down season. We'll talk about the 2024 recap, but they seem to be more consistent and solid kind of going forward, I think. But I do think Elko is a guy that could be the head coach there for a long, long time. And he's got the pieces to potentially be the next great coach for this program. When you look back at the 2024 season, went 8-5, as we said, in year 1 under Elko. Disappointing first game. I loved them last year in the first game against Notre Dame at home. Notre Dame goes to College Station and takes down the Aggies 23-13. After that, though, after the Notre Dame loss, this program hit a bit of a stride. They won 7 in a row, including games over number 9 Missouri, number 8 LSU, but then they lost 4 of 5 to end the season, including a 4 overtime game to Auburn and then a bowl game loss to USC. So it was a team that was really inconsistent this last year. You look at this upcoming season, consistency needs to be the key kind of focus, I think, because when they were struggling, they looked really bad and had some bad losses. But when you go and you win against number 9, you win against number 8, you win 7 games in a row, we saw what this program could be, how good they could be at certain times last year. So consistency needs to be kind of the main key, I think, heading into the 2024 season. This team was up and down, as I just touched on. Marcel Reed was starting there at the quarterback spot. It was expected that Connor Wegman would have been the long-term starter there over these next couple of years for Texas A&M. He loses the job after he gets hurt. Marcel Reed's the guy. He's got a lot of experience now at quarterback playing in the SEC. Can he make the most of that last year, that experience, and take a step this year? I think is going to determine how successful A&M can be this season. The defense held opponents to 20 or less in 7 games. But they also had a few games where they got shelled and they gave up 30-plus, 40-plus points. So consistency, once again, needs to be the key. Offense was up and down, not very consistent. All in all, though, an all right first season under Elko. 8-5 is acceptable. You probably would have liked to win that bowl game, finish 9-4, have some more momentum going into the season. But when you look at them as we head into 2025, I think they're in a good spot. The A&M has been, I think, overrated, a little bit too flashy of a program, trying to make these splash moves. I think Mike Elko is the guy that's just a solid coach, and he's going to get the most out of his guys each season. They just got to be able to remain more consistent. And I think things like those take time, and this could be a program that takes a big leap here in year 2 under their head coach. When we look at the offense and the offensive side of the ball for this Aggies team, welcome to the Marcel Reed show. I think Marcel Reed is going to be one of the breakout players in all of college football this year. Going to wow people with his athleticism, his rushing ability. Can he become a better passer, a more consistent passer? It's ultimately going to determine this guy's ceiling, but he saw action in 11 games last year. He had double-digit rushing attempts in 6 of those, and a handful that he didn't have double-digit rushing attempts, he had 8 or 9. So this is a guy that's going to run the football, use his legs. They're going to use design runs. He's going to have plays on scrambles. This is going to be one of the more electric quarterbacks this year in all of college football. The running game is going to be lethal for this offense. I think that's where their bread and butter is going to be. Marcel Reed could be the best rushing quarterback in all of college football. And you pair him with one of, if not the best running backs in the entire country in Le'Veon Moss, this is going to be a deadly rushing attack this year. Le'Veon Moss only played in 9 games last year, but still ran for 765 yards and 10 touchdowns. A bruiser, he can beat you up between the tackles, but also has that home run ability. And you compare that with the rushing threat of Marcel Reed every play, it's going to be really tough to stop this team. And they got a good stable of backs behind Le'Veon Moss as well. So this is going to be a really lethal rushing attack for this Texas A&M team. The passing game, though, that's a different question. How good can Marcel Reed be as a passer? How much can he develop as a passer? They bring in one of my favorite transfers in the entire portal in Casey Concepcion from NC State. This guy is a home run threat. He's a stud. 2 seasons at NC State. He has 16 touchdowns already, over 1,300 receiving yards through his 2 seasons. This is going to be the best receiver that Marcel Reed's played with thus far in his career. And I think the potential downfield threat of Concepcion with Marcel Reed is going to make some really explosive plays for this offense. All 5 starters return on the offensive line too for Texas A&M. That's just another reason why this rushing attack is going to be so lethal, why Marcel Reed and why Le'Veon Moss should be able to thrive game in and game out on the ground for Texas A&M. Should be a really good offense that I think is going to be balanced when needed. They're going to be able to strike some big plays in the passing game. I think they're going to live and die with the running game, and how good that rushing attack is ultimately will determine how good this offense is. I expect it to be a run-heavy approach week in and week out, beats up on people, leans on this offensive line, and then plays, small ball and wins some games like 24-20 and relies on the defense and the defensive-minded Mike Elko there. When we switch the attention over to the defensive side of the ball, as we've talked about, Mike Elko, a defensive coach, I think the unit disappointed a little bit last year. They had some really good performances. I said 20 held their opponents to 20 or less in 7 different games last year. But then they gave up 44 points one game, 43 points one game, 35 points one game. So once again, up and down, inconsistent. And I think that's where you fall to that 8-5 record instead of 10-2 and go into the playoff. This is a team that lost a couple games last year that could have won, and the season would have looked completely different. So consistency is the main thing for Texas A&M this year. I think the unit needs to be better on this defensive side, especially with Elko, be one of those top defenses in the entire SEC. They lose 2 key edge rushers on this team, a first-round pick and a second-round pick, Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart. They're out. They bring in transfers to replace those guys at the defensive end spot, TJ Searcy from Florida, Damon Hayes from Rutgers. But this is a team that for a while now has been recruiting well up front on the defensive line. You look at Von Miller, you look at Myles Garrett. There's been a lot of big-time pass rushers come through the Texas A&M program. Can they find another guy there? It's a deep and versatile group, I think, up front. But right now, I think they're lacking that elite pass rusher, which is going to hurt, the ultimate ceiling of this defense. You look at the middle, Scooby Williams back at linebacker. One should be the leading tackler for this Texas A&M team if he's healthy. And I think when he's playing at his best, he should be in the mix for, first or second team potential all SEC at the linebacker spot. He should be right there in the mix as one of the best backers in the entire conference down there in the SEC. And then you look at the cornerback spot. Will Lee, a returning all SEC corner from last year, a guy with NFL buzz, NFL potential. He's the really only kind of guy locked in as a starter on this defense. The word out of fall camp for this Texas A&M team, the there's a lot of battles in the secondary, whether it's safety, whether it's the corner spot across from Will Lee. It's a spot where they don't really have a surefire starters yet, but I think it's a group that's deep. Like, I think they're not going to just rely on 4 or 5 guys out there consistently. This is going to be kind of a rotating group, and I think that helps them when you prepare for a long season. And when guys are going out and in and out of the lineup with injuries, they're going to be able to have guys to turn to. So I think Mike Elko, you got to trust him, have some faith in him that this defense is going to take a step up this year. And the personnel might not be great or elite, but I think they're pretty deep, and that's going to help them out in the long term. So when we look over and we flash over to the schedule prediction now for this Texas A&M team and some over-unders, some gambling odds for this squad, over-under is 8.5 wins. The over at plus 140, under at minus 170. They are plus 1,500 to win the SEC, which is the 5th best odds in the conference. 40-1 to win the national championship. Plus 220 to make the playoff. Minus 290 to miss the playoff for this Texas A&M team. So when you look at their schedule, I think pretty, easy non-conference. They do have a game at Notre Dame, but other than that, they should go 3-0 in the or 3-1 in the non-con. If they do lose that Notre Dame game, 3-1 at minimum, but they start out with UTSA and Utah State, both at home, give them wins there. They go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is in a crazy home field environment. Under Marcus Freeman, they've lost to Northern Illinois. They've lost to Marshall. It's a spot where teams have proven the ability to go in there and win those games. Can Texas A&M get some revenge for Notre Dame going to A&M last year and getting the win? That's going to be a big game, probably going to be a ranked matchup between those two squads, barring anything crazy at the beginning of the season. But I do think Notre Dame has a potential to go undefeated. And Texas A&M going on the road here, I'm going to give the Aggies their first loss of the season. Then they have 3 straight home games in the SEC versus Auburn, a wild card team this year, but I'm going to give them a win in that one versus Mississippi State. I think going to be the worst team potentially in the SEC. Give them a win there. Versus Florida. Florida's another team, a wild card team. Like, people are saying if they're going to be good and they're hitting on all cylinders and DJ Lagway's healthy, it's a team that could go 10-2, 11-1, but they have such a tough schedule. Does that kind of affect this team? Even at this early stage of the season, remains to be seen, but I'm going to give Texas A&M the benefit of the doubt at home there, get a win. Then they go 3 straight games on the road in the SEC. Arkansas, another kind of wild card team. People are high on Taylor Green and that Arkansas offense this year. Can they take a step in year 2 under Bobby Petrino at the offensive coordinator spot? Could they be a surprise team in the SEC? They might, but I think there's just still a little bit too much question. So I'm going to give Texas A&M a win there. As I said, 3 straight games on the road here in the SEC. I think if you go 2-3, win any combination of 2 of those 3, I think they would probably consider that a success. They go to LSU. I think that's going to be a tough one to overcome. I'll give them a loss in that one. Then they go to Missouri. Missouri, another team where Eli Drinkwitz has got them just playing really good, consistent football. Could they surprise us here? Because people are down on them a little bit this year, projected like 11th or 12th in the SEC. I'm going to give A&M the benefit of the doubt in this one to go on the road and get a win there. And they host South Carolina, another team that I'm high on but has a really tough schedule. I think that's going to be a really fun matchup. It could be like a potential minus 2.5, 3 game. Like that one's going to be a real coin flip. I'm going to give A&M the win, though, at home. Samford, give them an easy win there. And then they go to Texas. Like, what does this team look like heading into the last week of the season? They're sitting there at 9-2, going to Texas after Texas went to A&M last year and got the win. A&M another spot where revenge on their mind, just like this game against Notre Dame too. Both of those teams went to your house last year and beat you. Can you go to their place and knock them off? I think Texas could be really good, as always, this year with Arch Manning and company running the show over there. It's going to be a tough game to overcome. I like Texas to win that game. So A&M finishes the season there at 9-3. The over-under of 8.5 at plus 140. I love that because I think if all things shake right, this could be a 10 or 11 win team. But also plus 220 to make the playoff. They go 9-3. I think they're knocking on the door with some of these tough games. Like if they do wind up winning at Notre Dame or at Texas or at LSU, get one of those really impressive road wins, a 9-3 record could get them in. But I think if all things shake right, this could be a 10-win team. So I do like both over 8.5 wins at plus 140. And also to make the playoff at plus 220. Those are 2 plays I would definitely consider for this A&M team. And you got to remember, like going into that Texas game last year, if they had won that game, they would have gone to the SEC championship. They would have gone to the SEC title game and most likely have been in the college football playoff. So ball bounces a different way in a few different spots. You could be seeing A&M in the playoff last year. I think that certainly could be in the cards this year, and I'm really high on Mike Elko in year 2 in this program kind of going forward. So that'll wrap up today's episode on the Texas A&M Aggies. We'll go over to the Big Ten next, touching on the Oregon Ducks. As always, everyone, though, keep it locked here on Pick Swap Media. Please like, please subscribe, and we'll be talking soon.